My ex, 27 male, and I, 32 female, are fairly successful business partners. We were friends at first, but slowly we got together and were together for 3 years. I made it clear I have no desire for sex. I had a bad experience in the past when I gave birth to my daughter, pre-tween, whom I love very much. My ex understood and said he wanted to be with me. I was madly in love and thought I'd finally met my match. It all came crashing down 3 months ago when I found out he'd been cheating on me for months and his affair partner was pregnant. I was devastated, to say the least. I've decided to be celibate for the rest of my life to save myself from heartbreak. I moved away from my ex to another state to clear my head. Our business was flourishing, we had bigger plans, and we were attracting investors. To protect our business interests, I didn't make a public show. I plan to move with my daughter permanently once it's set up. My ex's family loves me and I love them too. We share a good relationship despite my ex. His grandparents invited me to celebrate their wedding anniversary over brunch. I love them and we three share inside jokes. Ex and his now pregnant girlfriend were present, but I managed to avoid them mostly. Then ex's girlfriend got up, announced her pregnancy, looked me straight in the eye and said, "We want you to be our Munchkin's godparent once he comes." I was awkward, anxious and straight up angry. I snorted and laughed to keep my appearance. Well, the sound I made was halfway between horse spraying and ugly crying and said, "Oh, you don't want that, I'm moving away. The baby needs someone who can be around." The party went silent and the mood definitely changed. I left in the next 40 minutes. My ex has been blowing up my phone and calling me selfish that I didn't consider the grandparents' feelings and ruin their day. They're all very upset about how the party turned out. His girlfriend is embarrassed and has been crying. I asked him why he put me in that situation and he said his grandparents were very upset that I wouldn't be part of the family anymore. So his girlfriend thought making me their baby's godparent would somehow make them happy? I've stopped responding, but I do feel guilty for ruining grandparents' party. Maybe I should have dealt with it in private. I love them and I don't want this to be our last moment. Am I the idiot for refusing to be the godparent of my ex's baby? You are out of your damn mind to ask me that. Were you raised by baboons? Godparent of the affair baby, for God's sake? Stop talking to this person because only a complete Nimrod would think this was a good idea. And you're not the idiot. In fact, I think you were very discreet. You use your moving away as the reason to say no. LOL, they thought they could put you on the spot into accepting and legitimizing their affair in the eyes of the family, and they're angry you didn't play along. Screw them. They were classless, tacky idiots all the way, and now they have the guts to say you're being selfish. They're the ones who upset his grandparents, not you. Also, sounds like his grandparents aren't thrilled about having a home wrecker in the family. They are classless, tacky idiots who hijacked his grandparents' anniversary dinner with their announcement and request. The nerve asking you to be a godparent to their unborn baby when your ex cheated on you with her. It's so wild that people do this. The disrespect. People who weaponize peer pressure by using public surprise requests like this are manipulative idiots. And this behavior has clearly been far too long considered acceptable. Exactly. Even in normal circumstances, I feel that is usually a private conversation. Like it's very personal, not something you'd ask over dinner in normal circumstances. Yet wedding anniversary? OP, you know you were right because you followed precisely what your heart told you to say. You're only writing this because of the gaslighting going on, which makes you doubt your own reality. If you feel bad for the grandparents, then call them directly and apologize, but stand by that you do it again. If your ex will gaslight you and guilt trip you even before the baby is born, maybe it's best to split up the business. The business in another state is yours and the business in this state is his. After you take your share, of course, and have a lawyer draw an airtight contract. Your ex is a cheater. One who cheats in marriage will cheat in business. You were friends. You're just civil acquaintances now. What's next? They'd ask you to be maid of honor at their wedding? What a tacky pair of morons they are. I, 20 female, have been with my boyfriend for almost 3 months. I just started staying at his apartment recently for overnights. He's my first real boyfriend. I live at home with my family and we're very open. I mostly walk around in a shirt and my underwear, and it's not an all-girls household. I have a dad and 2 brothers, ages nearly adult and mid-teen. I also did it growing up and I also have an older brother. If guests stop by unannounced growing up, so be it. They'd see us in our bedwear. It's normal for me and I guess I expected other people to do it. As you can imagine, I did this at my boyfriend's apartment when it was just the 2 of us, which he loved. Then 2 days ago his brother stopped by and I came out of the shower in a t-shirt and cheekies underwear, but not too cheekies, only exposed a little. When my boyfriend saw me, he immediately whispered to me to put on some pants, which I did. After his brother left, he was super angry and asked if I was trying to seduce his brother or something. I told him I didn't mean anything by it, just that I walk around like this at home, and he said, well, not at his home and not when we have guests. He told me I looked like I was trying to strut it for his brother. I apologized, but he was super upset and went to sleep early, which isn't like our regular sleepovers since I stay over so rarely. It's been 3 days and he hasn't asked me to sleep over again. Am I the idiot? Edit, I didn't know he was stopping by, but I heard him while in the shower, so I knew he was there. You heard his brother was there and you still got cheeky. No pun intended. I'm going to say you are the idiot. While you might be comfortable with this at home, you have to have some common sense to understand you're not at your own home. You were aware his brother was there, and no, it's not normal to prance around in your underwear in front of guests. If your dad's male friend stopped by and you just came down from the shower in a shirt and underwear, your dad was cool with that? I personally find that maybe a little weird. I understand growing up around family doing that and how that may be okay, but whenever anyone came round who wasn't immediate family to visit, pants on. It was more a respect thing too. I mean, wow. If you don't know the difference between wearing just a t-shirt and underwear around your family versus in front of your boyfriends, of 3 freaking months no less, brother, you are way too immature to be having sleepovers at anyone's house. This is way too immature and clueless, coming from a 20-year-old. I, 37 male, have 2 children, my son, a young teen, and my daughter, mid-teens. My wife was the one who came up with the names of our kids, as I never had strong opinions on a baby name. My wife decided to name our son after her great-grandfather. I never questioned it and never bothered to learn much more about him, which, looking back, was a mistake. A few months ago, our son was at a party with his friends from baseball and they were sharing TikTok with each other. One of the boys shared a TikTok about an almost name. Basically like it sounds, what your parents almost named you. One of my son's friends asked about my son's name, and he mentioned who he was named after. The boy decided to type the name into Google and scroll through the results until he found something interesting. My wife's great-grandfather was a state legislator in the southern US before the Civil Rights era. As you may have guessed from that, he was a segregationist and voted in favor of bills to maintain segregation. When we picked up our son from the party, he started to yell at us and we had to calm him down. We asked why we would name him after a bad guy like his great-grandpa. This started arguing in the car, and we discussed it when we got home later that night. Our son told us he talked to his friends and was changing his name, which was final. My wife was a bit upset. She grew up here in the South, while I'm originally from a hippie little town in New England. My wife has become a lot more accepting since we met, but this was still a bit hard for her. She eventually accepted it though and moved on. We now refer to a name chosen by our son with the help of his friends. His classmates at school have started to use it, and while he's had some issues, it hasn't been terrible. One of my son's friends is a trans boy and he has had it worse, though my son and his other friends always work on protecting the boy from bullying. My son's new name is one he's proud of and named after someone he looks up to. Recently he got some items with his new name, like a men's necklace and a sign in his room. The issue is, a few days after he got the items with his new name, 2 weeks ago, our daughter ruined them by breaking the chain on the necklace and banging his sign. Our daughter doesn't like the name change, saying her brother is just being a sensitive zoomer and something about boys being too weak these days. Our daughter has said edgy stuff like this in the past year or so, even when we condemn her. As the result of the damage, my wife and I told her we were suspending her allowance until the price of the damages was paid back. Our daughter is saying we're unfair to her and has apologized for what she did. My wife went on her Facebook moms group to ask for help and most of the moms agreed we were too hard on her. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your daughter purposefully broke items meaningful to her younger brother because she disagreed with something that had no actual impact on her. Suspending her allowance to pay for replacements is a perfectly fair and logical consequence. As a teen, she must understand that apologizing doesn't make everything go away. She committed vandalism. The consequence of vandalizing someone else's property is that you have to pay restitution. This is an entirely normal consequence. It's not like she tripped and fell and knocked the sign over. She intentionally destroyed it. and paying to replace it is perfectly appropriate. Ironically, she accuses her brother of being too weak, but she can't take the consequences of her actions. That seems par for the course for people who call others weak. Have you asked your wife why she would name your son after her great-grandfather? If she loved her great-grandfather enough to name a child after him, she knew what he was up to. However, you're allowing your young teen son to make decisions he's not ready to make. He's named what he is and can change it as an adult. A week ago, I, 26 male, and my family helped one of my cousin's family relocate to a place 8 hours away. This mainly involved using my pickup and one of my trailers to haul all their boxes and the furniture not taken by a company they hired. Unfortunately, this nice country drive became a nightmare due to bad weather and traffic, which made driving stick brutal. My actual problem started when it was time for everyone to call it a day. Despite saying she had enough air mattresses, blankets and pillows for everyone, this wasn't the case. To make things worse, there were no hotels nearby or furniture people could sleep on, as it was with a moving company. Due to this shortage, I was the only person who couldn't sleep, as even doing so in my truck wouldn't work. The following night was no better, as during the day I did all the lifting only to again have to try and sleep in my truck. By 3 a.m. the following morning, I was so tired that I began to feel cold and sick, which led to me saying, "Screw this." Instead of staying, I decided to go home and stop at the first hotel I came across on the highway. Since everyone was sleeping, I didn't bother going into the house before hitting the road. After a solid 40 minutes of driving, I found a hotel for the night. Before bed, I called my fiancée and informed her about the situation and my plans to go home. Crap hit the fan the next day when my cousins and the others started wondering where I was. The moment I told them I was going home and my reasons for doing so, they started going off on me. When I stopped taking their calls, they started sending angry texts saying that I was an idiot and that they planned on disowning me. When I stopped answering altogether, they started bombarding my fiancée. Am I the idiot? They plan on disowning me. Ha ha, I love that. Don't threaten me with a good time. You are not the idiot. Yeah, I'll never allow you to be unpaid labour for me again. Woo-hoo. If they will disown you anyway, send them an invoice for using your truck, fuel and moving manpower. Throw in the cost of the hotel too. They expected you to suck it up and sleep in your truck for 2 days for the honour of helping them move. Why did they need you and your stuff for multiple days? Sounds like they didn't plan well. And if they didn't have enough bedding, which check first, why did the person with the truck and trailer not get priority? Man, it sounds like you have the patience of a saint. I hope you slept really well in that motel. Maybe if you'd bailed that first night, it would have been an everyone's the idiot here situation. But seriously, after knowing you couldn't sleep at all, after a whole day of demanding physical labour and stressful driving, they couldn't come up with any arrangement that would allow you to sleep. There had to be many solutions here, from going out to a store and buying an air mattress, to someone in the house giving up their bed so you can have a turn resting. Their attitude clearly shows they're only concerned about what they can get out of you than you as a person, especially since they're harassing your fiancé, who I assume wasn't even there. Tell them you accept being disowned and live your life. I, 23 female, am getting married to my fiancé, 25 male, in November. We're really excited and the day is fast approaching. I have 5 women being my bridesmaids. One of them is my sister Millie, 21 female. Millie has always been more of a tomboy growing up, but doesn't have an issue with wearing dresses for formal events. I want my bridesmaids to wear matching dresses, which everyone knew when they accepted. I bought and paid for the dresses. They're a relatively simple style in a pastel pink colour. Millie is now angry, saying she won't wear the dress because it's pink and too girly. She's even threatening not to attend the wedding unless I return her dress and pick out another colour. I'm distraught that she'd make such a problem out of a dress colour when she knew I wanted the bridesmaids to match. Millie is being dramatic and could deal with wearing the wedding dress for one day, but honestly my feelings are really hurt that she threatened to drop out of the wedding over this. My fiancé thinks I should kick her out of the wedding party before she causes more significant problems closer to or on the day. My parents got involved in this and told me to exchange the dress for the same one in a different colour and that we were both acting like children. Am I the idiot if I told Millie to suck it up and wear the dress if she wants to be a bridesmaid and not budge on the issue? Not the idiot. Whether she's a tomboy is irrelevant. She agreed to be a bridesmaid. This is what you chose. I'd have more sympathy if the style was extremely low cut and it didn't fit a busty woman or something of that nature. simply hating the colour? Deal with it. It's one day and she didn't have to pay for it. You are the idiot. Do you like your sister? Do you have a good relationship with her you'd like to keep? Is there a reason you asked her to be a part of your wedding other than your mom said so or vague appearances? You had to have known she wouldn't be remotely comfortable wearing a pastel pink bridesmaid's dress, even if you didn't know for sure. Why wouldn't you have checked with her or asked her to help pick the dresses out before you chose them? Your sister is upset about the dress, but I'm sure there's more to it. Talk to her. Listen. Find a way for all the women you love to look beautiful that day. This touches on a critical point. You've known your sister her whole life. You didn't think for a second that this might be an issue. At this point, just compromise with your sister and let her wear something different so she doesn't have to feel incredibly awkward all day and then be forced to see photos of herself like that for the rest of her life. Don't force her to be miserable. I'm sure that's not the karma you want on your wedding day. It's a colour. It won't change her whole identity to wear pink for one day. Don't budge. She's being so selfish and ridiculous. It's your wedding day, and she's making it about herself. If she wants to make a fool of herself and back out of the wedding over something so childish and stupid, let her. She'll regret it when she looks back years from now.